infinite worlds and obscure voices of history. Though the focus on visibility in the world of science fiction has found popular enunciation in works like The Monster from Mary Shelley's classic novel Frankenstein, James Cameron's figuration of the wheelchair-bound Jeep Sully from the movie Avatar, played by the able-bodied Sam Worthington, and the problematic representation of disabled bodies being turned into weapons of mass destruction in Iron Man 3. Most of these representations of disability and its close connection with technology has been shown as either aiding or has been rendered powerless by numerous digital and prosthetic technologies. On the other hand, Padmanabhan's illustration of the connection between technology and disabled body challenges the construct of ableism and speciesism. Padmanabhan's story begins at the juncture where technologies have engulfed human political, cultural imagination and agency. We are informed by the narrator that technologies have served as the first undergirding human material life, like defining the productive potentiality and smooth functioning of states, numerous institutions, and multinational corporations have come to a grinding halt. Interestingly, the predominance of the idiom of technology in the human order landscape in Padmanabhan's story recalls the famous 1981 cover page of the Times magazine of the computer, which sketched how computers and internet would define our future and remake human interests and concerns. While the Times cover drew technologies as the harbinger of change, in Padmanabhan's story, the non-compliance of technologies as against the utilitarian goals of humankind puts the very idea of liberal humanism in disarray. The non-presence of technologies in public and private spaces and the embodied lies in Padmanabhan's stories dramatize a felt need to reflect on our human choices and actions. The narrative states, there were no cars on the roads, no trains running on tracks, no planes in the sky. Every card reader and GPS device were not functional. Every television and train station. All forms of computerized intelligence have been extracted from the locations and transported off Earth. Even as the public world finds itself shutting down, the private world of Ash and others dependent on various wildlife implants also face a dire crisis. Since birth, Ash had managed to see because of the microchip inserted into his brain and which allowed him to monitor and control his movements, all sensory movements, by being connected to the technology that Ash had named as Vicky. While the non-functioning of technology sketches a nightmare of massive proportions, it plays a more pivotal role in overthrowing conventional models of how able, disabled, and species entities are framed. The later gradual information pertaining to Mickey's role in Ash's life parallels the values of technologies verbalized in the contemporary public discourse evident in the story. His DNA had been embedded within Mickey's motherhood so that he alone could be his user, making it literally an extension of his physical body. The device was powered by its own heat energy. He had only to touch it for it to begin charging. It spoke only to him. It had no ears, and eyes, or voice, or anyone else. This passage makes it amply evident that technologies function in neoliberal capitalist world as a means to an end. In a human-centered world, technologies, according to R. Luxky, function no more than instruments which are meant to be controlled and regulated by humans. This aspect becomes more discernible when Ash classifies the prosthetic implant inserted into his brain by a name, Mickey. The culture of naming, classifying, and categorizing was one of the key features of imperial politics. And Ash's identity as the son of the rich capitalist primarily serves to recall the balance that such categorization initiated. Continuing the story of power and dominance, the narrator informs Mickey's role was also to entertain Ash and to satisfy his every whimsical fancies. Mickey and other technologies' depiction as a slave to human-centered interest is underlined by the fact that Ash never even had to frame any of his requests to Mickey. Mickey instinctively knew how to please and gratify his master. While Mickey and other technologies' revolt can initially be read as a temporary destruction of global human social political imaginaries, it can also be, which are also seen in movies like Rajinikanth's summer movie Enthran. It is Mickey's continual rejection of stereotypical roles that decenters the liberal humanist representation of ableism, specialism, and essentializing constructs that frame our consciousness and which leads to a critical post-humanist stance anticipated by Rosie Brierberty. According to Brierberty, the continuing presence of various discourses on human, post-human, anti-human, non-human demands that we redraw our understanding of human subject and anthropocentric values. Humanism, according to Thomas Nair, treats the human subject as the center of the world, where the humanist traditionally taken to be a subject, one who is conscious of his or herself, marked by rational thinking, intelligence, who is capable of his or her course of action, depending on his or her needs, desires, and wishes. Post-humanism counters the centrality of man by re-evaluating such socio-political milieu with its hierarchization of values. The global advancement of technological discourses in a contemporary world have initiated what Devashish Mukherjee and Makarand Puranjpe affirms, the species-wide blurring of the human boundary. Critical humanism, as Nayan Braidotti elucidates, pictures a world where the liberal human, autonomous human subject is no longer possible. Instead, human, anti-human, non-human, subhuman are now more or less seamlessly articulated, mutually dependent, and co-evolving. Mickey and other technologies, similar with human-ordered values, bodies, and institutions, allows Mickey to call out what Yuan, Lieberman, and Virgin Newman possess as the inscription of human activity into the geological archive of the planet. Mickey's statement, I was created to be a assistant, not a friend. It is this truth that Banerjee and Puranjpe identifies as futurist pride in neoliberalism. While Mickey and other technologies rebellion critically rejects the values of human exceptionalism, identifiable as the values of neoliberal capitalism, the revolt further dramatizes the need to enact the idea of subject always and the subject and embodiment always in process of becoming through an open system of assemblages. For Gibson, the deducing concept of assemblage deconstructs closed, self-contained, stable, and ordered systems, often underscored by neoliberal humanism. Gibson states assemblages are shifting connectivities between heterogeneous material semiotic forces, temporary entanglements that continually compose, decompose, and recompose, forming different machinic assemblages with other material semiotic forces that produce different capacities. The concept of assemblage rework the attitudes on visible and evil bodies. Mickey's outright rejection of friendship, vouched for by Ash, summarizes the need to critically reconfigure the ideas pertaining to disability as merely an afterthought to the normative representation of ableism. Instead, Mickey's dramatic reversal of ableism and specialism enacts an open and affirmative person care of ethics. When Mickey states, I can watch all your dreams. I know, for instance, that I never appear in your dreams. Is that not strange? I know that you dream about all manner of people, places, and things. But me? No, you do not dream me. The little assistant in your hand, the little assistant in your pocket, the little assistant on whom your life depends. This bitter cry of Mickey draws our attention to how Ash is not simply the master, but despite his central position vis-a-vis Mickey, is as much a pawn in the fundamental values of human ordered societies. Mickey's decentering of anthropocentric tendencies, particularly identifiable within neoliberal capitalist societies, occasions the need to frame disability discourses as non-hierarchical and non-binary. Mickey's insistence on dreaming and desire undercuts the progressivist Western history that has sought to reimagine the future by silencing the others to validate the perfect white European male bodies. Just from cutting off few previous year. This paper interrogates in its reading of a banal story the unchallenged desirability of normative rights. Ash and Mickey's integration into new modes of digital networks outline that the meaning of bodies are ever shifting. If for Kathleen Hills, the post-human evokes the exhilarating prospect of getting out of some of the old boxes and opening up new ways of thinking about what being human means. In this paper, Mickey adds cross-connection, dramatizes new possibilities, and articulations of becoming, where new affective relationships will, as Sarah Emmons stated, disturb the order of things and begin anew our thinking on disability and its relationship to embodiment. Thank you.
Thank you, Rani. It's a very, very interesting paper. I think, we're seeing the limits from where we can, that discourse on disability. Professor Aneja talked about Gulliver's Travels in the morning, and now we're going into the genres of science fiction and speculative fiction. So it is really, a genre that is transcending other genres, I would say. I mean, because it's obviously something that is something which is something central to our lives. Our next speaker is Ms. Meenakshi Sharma. Meenakshi is a colleague here with us at the English department at Zakir Hussain Delhi College Evening, and she's also a former student of ours, and recently appointed as an assistant professor. So she's presented in our conferences as a student presenter and now as a faculty presenter. So Meenakshi.
First of all, thank you so much, organizers, the entire team, for giving me this
Of which you are a part as well.
of which I am definitely a part of, for giving me the opportunity to present. Now, on to the paper without further ado. Power vulnerability nexus in the superhero narratives of Marvel Cinematic Universe. The superhero genre often combines the spectacle of bodies with the spectacle of othering. By its very definition, a superhero must possess a non-typical embodiment which transcends the restrictions of a typical embodiment. So much so that the superhero body is constructed in a manner that is sharply contrasting to the normative body. This contrast was highlighted further to the superhero narrative of the superhero coming to terms with their bodily and or mental disability. While on one hand, certain superheroes represent the athletic ideal of the physical body, supposedly the super body, disabled superheroes paradoxically defy any such categorization through their negotiations with their superability and disability. That is, their ability to function beyond the norms of an able human body while simultaneously battling physical and or mental disability. In such a circumstance, super body is capable of unimaginable feats of strength and ability, yet incapable of the normalcy accorded to the able human body. This paper seeks to address how the supergrid narrative presents the disabled super body within this power vulnerability nexus between super ability and disability through an analysis of the disabled superheroes from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Owing to the limitations of time and scope, this paper will primarily deal with two films: Captain America the First Avenger, henceforth Captain America, and Doctor Strange. A supergrid narrative, as informed by Beth Holler, is a narrative trope wherein an individual must fight against their impairment and overcome their disability in a manner that most able-bodied audience would find awe-inspiring. The defining feature of the supergrid narrative is its rationalization of impairment as a positive attribute. Impairment becomes a cause for achievement and leads to a transformative experience for the impaired body. I divide the supergrid narratives into two distinct categories, depending on what makes the depiction of the impaired body quote unquote special. In the first category, the impaired body may be considered special owing to the superhuman physical feats it accomplishes in spite of or possibly because of its impairment. In the second category, I place what Ditchkowski called the able disabled. That is, the impaired body, which may be considered special owing to its normalcy, its ability to achieve the regular, mundane, and everyday tasks which can otherwise be performed by the non-disabled body. The super bodies discussed in this paper can be placed in the first category. Superheroes become supercrips not because they are disabled and yet accomplish that which is deemed superhuman, wherein the prefix super implies an act virtually impossible for the non-native human body. Instead, it is a narrative set by the films in which the chief struggle and motive of the disabled superhero is to achieve normalcy in order to become a productive, valued, and respected member of the society that makes them supercrip narratives. The ableist hierarchization is more than evident in both the films that are taken here for analysis. Dr. Stephen Strange is a celebrated neurosurgeon. As a surgeon, the precision of his hands is his biggest asset. Thus, the loss of this precision marks his downfall race as he deems himself useless, quotes within quotes, after an accident. The plot of the film revolves around his hunt for a cure. On the other hand, Steve Rogers in Captain America is an unvalued citizen who feels, within quotes, useless, as myriad bodily disabilities rendered him unfit to serve in the military during World War II. He becomes a celebrated war hero after undergoing technological enhancements to improve his body. In both the cases, there is a struggle, there is a change in perceived or actual social status based on the realized superability of the body. While Captain America becomes a decorated role model, Stephen Strange is forced to be in his role in life and in his workplace has come to an end. Suggestions from colleagues about possible career change are seen as a sign of failure by Stephen. However, this probe of hunt for a medical cure is inverted in Doctor Strange. The film brings to question the very assumption that individuals are a sum of their bodies and that even the disabled bodies must make do with a diminished quality of life. In his hunt for a cure, he meets a patient, Jonathan, who had previously been paralyzed but is now seen indulging in pain of basketball. Pangborn directs people to Kamataj, the place that cured him. However, he claims that achieving the normative body, the desirous physically fit ideal in the ablest world was a life that he merely settled for. Pangborn says, I chose to settle for my miracle and I came back home. Thus, Pangborn implies that the mythic body, the super body, was far from the ideal and in fact the lesser option available to him. In this scenario, physical prowess or enabled body is not deemed as the ultimate goal. Instead, Pangborn hints that there are terrains far and wide that are more desirous than the superbody. At Kamartaj, much of Stephen's training deals with eliminating his ableist point of view. That made him view the body as the only vehicle to drive action. Once Stephen's acceptance to Kamartaj, Strain's training is explicitly oriented towards helping him understand that his mind isn't limited by his body. But he struggles with the idea that restoring his hands to the pristine, pre-accident condition is a prerequisite to performing successful magic. It takes an enforced John to Everest and the example of Hamilton, who does not have a left hand, to suggest to Strange that his sense of the possible is woefully limited. In Captain America, the First Avenger, Rogers has been barred from the army because of asthma, arthritis, partial deafness, a congenital heart defect, and other chronic illnesses. However, the serum acts to cure these disabilities, and the film makes explicit that this change comes about because Rogers is a virtuous and self-sacrificing defender of justice, worthy of the physical ideal of Captain America. According to Erskine, this is because Rogers is not a great soldier but a good man. Thus, Captain America juxtaposes the morality of Captain America and Red Skull, the chief villain, through casting Captain America's hypernormative physicality as proof of his moral superiority and Red Skull's non-normative appearance as proof of his moral bankruptcy. The manifestations of bad and good are thereby located within the body itself and reflected in physical appearance. Thus, the Marvel Cinematic Universe implicitly invites the audience to judge individuals based on their appearances and to assume that individuals who are less normatively beautiful are less moral. Both of them are great examples of what Mitchell and Snyder call narrative prosthesis. Narrative prosthesis is the use of disability as a device or a tool to propel the story forward. Disability may be added in the narrative as a trope for three major purposes. Firstly, as an obstacle force that needs to be overcome. Secondly, to create means for the audience to identify with the otherwise invulnerable superhero. And thirdly, to foreground a model universe where bad things happen to good people for the greater good. For instance, Captain America must earn his title by overcoming his disability, and Dr. Strange must undergo a transformative journey to realize his potential. However, as Kelly Kane puts it, to treat disability as a metaphor or a symbol removes its potential to localize the character within the community of disabled individuals. Disability as a literary device takes precedence over the social context of the said disability. It ignores the lived reality of the disabled individuals and leads to the erasure of vulnerable embodiment and its attendant subjectivities. The superpowered supercrip is a subtype of the stereotype of disabled individuals as overcoming disability through hard work and willpower. One that denies the experience of disabled individuals through suggesting that they must change their bodies and minds and ask that the environments accommodate them as they currently are. Scenes where the superhero trains extensively to overcome his disability or to attain a state of super embodiedness is in spite of his or her disability inadvertently imply that disabilities can be overcome through the sheer strength of will. Thus, it localizes the success or failure of the disabled body within the individual himself. It begs the question, what if all the disabled people cannot in fact be supercrips? What if it is an impossibly high standard to live up to? The supercrip figure thus has a function closely related to the figure of the normate. It functions as an ideological constraint upon the possibilities of meaning making in the lives of disabled people. This puts the responsibility for any problems squarely and almost exclusively on the disabled individual. Refusing to accept themselves with their handicap, they have chosen isolation, thus says Longboard. Steve sulks alone in the cinema, watching a newsreel that declares, every able-bodied young man is lining up to serve his country. Even little Timmy is doing his part connecting scrapmen. Nice work, Timmy. The idea of able-bodied men helping their nation, while such a possibility is denied to pre-Serum Rogers, frustrates him. Frustrated, he asks his friend, what do you want me to do? Collect scrap metal in my little red wagon? Steve presents the war contributions of non-combatants as ridiculous, almost cartoonish, like the little red wagon. or passive, as the munitions workers were sitting around waiting for non-disabled men to win the war. Steve is motivated by bitterness and vanity, and it is his bad attitude, not merely structural discrimination, that poisons his engagement with society. Alternatively, the social model of disability argues that it is not the impairment a person has that disables him, but rather it is the social reaction to that impairment that moves an individual from full participation in society. In other words, it is a stigma society attaches to the identity that is disabled, not the disability in itself. Steve's identity as a stigmatized person and his experience as a marginalized person make him especially qualified in Dr. Erskine's estimation. What disqualifies Steve from service, according to Colin Phillips, qualifies him for Erskine. Steve is a hero long before his body changes. He is a hero because he puts others' needs in front of his own and is willing to sacrifice himself in the service of the greater good. Bucky is one of the handful of people who recognizes Steve's actual social identity and not just his virtual social identity. In other words, Bucky sees and values Steve as a fully realized individual and not only as a member of a stigmatized category. Jose Alanis notes that a superpowered character cannot exist without the underlying rationality of a disabled structuring other, crucially an other that must literally and routinely be made to vanish from sight. This other in Captain America is represented by Steve's trusted sidekick Bucky Barnes, who is a Western ideal of masculinity with his short hair, smooth white skin, and his muscular, non-disabled body. However, Bucky's mental arm represents the stripping away of his mind, body, and agency. The prosthetic provides Bucky with accessibility and much more as it records his super strength and super ability. Yet, it also symbolizes his lack of agency. Ultimately, Captain America is a reparative narrative that views disability as a deviance that must be cured to restore able-bodiedness. On the other hand, Dr. Strange seeks to question the ableist hierarchy of the normate body being superior by positing the same normate body in a position of physical inability in comparison to the superbody. Leonard David opines that superhero comics contain a foundational bias against the transgressive body, be it deformed, maimed, mutilated, broken, diseased, or disabled. This may be true insofar as the supergrip narrative utilizes a trope of finding the miracle cure that inadvertently affords its user with some kind of superpower, as in the case of Steve Rogers. However, disabled superheroes like Bucky Barnes challenge the very premise of a super body being superior to the normate body, and by that hierarchization, the normate body being superior to the disabled body. The super body changes the contours of the corporeal realities of the disabled. It begs the question, will the existence of the super body define the physical limitations of the normated body? Is a normated body the disabled body? Thank you.
Thank you, Meenakshi. Finished right in the nick of time. The next speaker is Dr. Prerna Sinha, Associate Professor of English, ARSD College, University of Delhi.
Thank you so much, Madhumita, Mr. Alice, the entire team of teachers, students who made this seminar possible. In fact, when I saw this, I thought of trying my hand at something that I've been thinking about, for the last 1 year, and I think I've taken a risk working on representation of disability in 18th century travel book, Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels, because this has been I think one of the most challenging books to teach, and something that we have done long back. Even when we were doing our graduation, I believe all of us must have done this particular book. Anyhow, this is my attempt, so I will be skipping the abstract, which is already with you. So I'll straight on and get started. Swift remains the leading satirist in English language even after 350 years for his Gulliver's Travels. Since it first appeared in 1726, it has captivated readers, authors, and artists alike. Smithsonian Magazine maintains Swift, uh, that Swift remains as sharp and relevant as ever. Swift conceived of Gulliver's Travels as a travel book which chronicles a sailor's adventures so as to create perfect satire. He knows perfectly how to make the reader see something very familiar, something he himself does in such a way that it becomes ridiculous, disgusting, and yet funny and comical. The satire hence has to be distorted to garner constant delight in the wit, humor, surprises, and even shocking details to achieve this Swift takes recourse to science fiction where an average civilized man, the gullible Gulliver, goes to 4 different destinations and narrates his experiences. Kathleen Williamson, Thomason Swift in the chapter The Teen as Satirist, argue that voyages, both authentic and imaginary, were in fact one of the prominent literary genres. The intent of the imaginary voyages was almost always to satirize the existing European order, and he did so by playing up the innocence, manliness, and high ethical standards of the untutored peoples whom the voyager claimed to have met. Swift chooses travel genre to make Gulliver undertake different voyages in fantastic places where he encounters, instead of handsome and noble savages, aspects of human as it perennially is, whether in civilized society or in nature. Readers get to see Swift's satiric devices through brilliant deployment of irony that is evident from the very first moment when he finds himself a giant among extremely tiny, 6 inches tall Lilliputians. In the second, the size gets inverted. Here he becomes the Lilliputian among the giants of Brobdingnac. In the third voyage to Laputa, he presents gross absurdities, the weird, very eccentric people at Laputa, Club. Readers can sense Swift's disgust with human beings that reaches penultimate height in the fourth one, comprising yahoos and villains that earn Swift the label of a misanthrope. His idea of satirizing humankind as caricatures who are disabled, a form of marginalization that is most marginalized in academia, becomes quite intriguing and deserves attention in all the 4 books. It has been argued that he conceived his travel book on the lines of More's utopian ideal country. The term utopia, coming from the Greek term topos, means no place where More had done. What More had done is to describe an ideal human society in his utopia in 1516 in order to protest against the breakdown of the old order. It is assumed that Swift did the same thing a century later, except that he used different means. He would rather satirize the image of utopia than take it seriously like More. Thus he uses Lemuel Gulliver, the narrator, who is most of the times unreliable and carries the narrative on the lines of utopia. In book one, Voyage to Lilliput, book one, A Voyage to Lilliput appears as a comic distortion of life in Europe. The sections on the public rewards of leaping and creeping, or the endless disputes about whether one should eat one's eggs by breaking them at the bigger or the smaller end, or the absurdity of the royal proclamations are obvious and funny distortions of the portrait. At the same time, there are passages where Swift holds up the laws of Lilliput as some form of utopian ideal, where readers get puzzled if Gulliver is approving of the corrupt politics of England, as after all, he too is a product of the same system. Gulliver's inability or lack of understanding is taken up in a very ambiguous manner. Readers are continuously led into this maze of whether to take his views or the underlying irony of Swift. Swift satirizes human nature through Gulliver, who too is no less his victim. We certainly laugh at his expense while Swift's intentions are clear. Gulliver and all the caricatures are but depiction of us. The second voyage, Voyage to Brobdingnac, offers older perspective of size. The natives are giants, and unlike Lilliputians magnanimous, they are a revelation to Gulliver, who informs, their skins appeared so coarse and uneven, so variously colored when I saw them near. He realizes what looks perfect to us is not actually perfect, it is simply not imperfect enough for our limited sense of observation. The king definitely represents qualities that brings the place and it closer to utopia. Gulliver is very impressed until he divulges the process of making gunpowder to the king, who pronounces rather abrasively, I cannot but conclude the bulk of your natives to be the most pernicious species of the odious vermin that ever crawled on the face of this earth. Gulliver is shocked and hurt too. Swift and the writer is observing reactions of Gulliver and leaves the audience to react. Is he regarding Robin land a utopia after all this? All such questions are posed. Rebecca Higgett argues for historians of science, Jonathan Swift's book Gulliver's Travels is well known both as a work of what we might call proto-science fiction and as a satire on the experimental philosophy that was being promoted by the Royal Society at the time of its publication, 2 years before the death of Isaac Newton. In many ways, the whole of Gulliver's Travels is a satire on the scientific approach of the Royal Society, which is presented as a travel narrative reporting on extraordinary sights and experiences in foreign lands in a calm, detached, and whenever possible, situations. Robert P. Fitzgerald says in Science and Politics, in Swift's verse to Laputa, Laputa's population plus meaning of an economy. The Laputans are mastered magnetic levitation. They also are very fond of astronomy and discovered two moons of Mars